They're playing the Green Bay Packers. It's preseason's tough to cover as a journalist because it's not a game. It's an exhibition. And you got to try to look at it like a coach and figure out what they're trying to accomplish and evaluate it as such. Regular season games, did you win or did you lose? This is different. So from your perspective, what do you think the Niners want to accomplish most of all? What are their top goals in this game?
Their top goal should be to not walk away with any of the experts.
Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Straight
Yeah.
up. That's the first one. If there's no major injuries, that's a big plus. That's one.
Yeah, that's got to be number one.
Yes.
And I'm a little concerned about that because I know Trent Williams isn't playing.
True.
Right?
I
So
mean,
that concerns me.
it's just straight up football. I mean, odds are there's going to be one or two guys every game. Odds are.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely the first goal. I mean, the main goal.
Protect your important players.
Yeah, I mean, there's some players that should not be on the field at all, and I think that's going to be the case. And then there's some guys, get what you need from them, get them acclimated, get them back into the flow, and then get them out. Like, don't push it.
In this vein, in this spirit, you say don't get players hurt. There are some of it is luck. It's football. There are certain things coaches can do, though. Let's talk about offense. Let's talk about Trey Lance. Do you think they will and should call quarterback-driven runs in this game?
I would say absolutely not, personally. I know that's going to be absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah. I know that's going to be part of his. It's going to be part of his game, and I'm not really thrilled about it, to be honest. But I know it is going to be part of his game, and they got to get him loose and used to it at some point. But first preseason game, 1 maybe. But I would say 0 for me. Yeah.
I wouldn't want him running the ball past the line of scrimmage. I don't even think I'd want him scrambling. Maybe scrambling. But for a couple of reasons, no on the zone read. 1, unnecessary hits. And 2, don't show it.
Yeah.
You want week 1, that Chicago team to be like, well, we know they're going to run Trey Lance in this game, but we haven't seen what they're going to do. So let's guess. That's what you want. So I would say don't do it because I don't know how many different ways they're going to run Trey Lance, but there's only so many ways. So don't show your little wrinkles. I
don't think that's probably the least of his worries as far as things he needs to prepare for the season anyways. So I agree. They shouldn't do it. Hopefully they don't do it. And I don't think they're going to do it. I think that, like you're saying, why are you giving it away? Why are you putting them at risk? It's just unnecessary. And Kyle Shanahan is known for being super ultra vanilla in the preseason anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to add something. I think what a lot of people are going to do is, how does the offense look? How does the offense look? Did they drive down the field? Did they score? I don't think that's the right way to judge preseason because the coaches aren't game planning and they're not calling plays thinking, what's the most efficient, best way to get down the field against this opponent? What they're doing is evaluating individual players outside of practice. So maybe they want to see Ray McCloud against a certain coverage or player run a certain routes. They'll call those, not necessarily because it's the best thing for the offense in that moment, because they need more evaluation on Ray, something like, or Trey Sermon. So I think you have to understand they're trying to evaluate certain players. So if the Niners go 3 and out, look at why. Which players were involved in this series, and what did you learn about each one individually? I think that's probably a better way to evaluate it, like player by player, than the cohesive group, because we don't know how many starters are going to be sitting, and they're not game planning.
Yeah, the biggest value that they're going to give for the game, and I agree 100% with you. You read my mind, and the exact same way I'm thinking is the biggest value is when they go back and they look at the film and they watch each matchup individually. That's the value. It doesn't matter if they win or lose or how the offense as a whole looks or the defense as a whole. It's like who's doing what, and break it down individually.
Right. So they like Spencer Burford, the rookie right guard. It's been practice. It's really hard to judge linemen in practice. Now they get to see him in a game, one-on-one against starting defensive linemen in the NFL. How's he look? That'll be much more important than their yards per carry as a team or their completion percentage as a team, that kind of thing. That'll matter in the regular season. Of course, all that matters in the regular season. But in preseason, it's like, how did Burford hold up one-on-one? How did Banks hold up one-on-one? Did Sermon shy away from the contact, or was he initiating the contact? Was he those kind of things I think will be very illuminating. They'll learn about a lot of running backs and linemen, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
think
who do you think they should feature in terms of players they need to evaluate?
Well, the main one I'm hoping for today is that for Friday, after the game, that they walk away knowing, okay, this is our starting center, because that relationship, center quarterback exchange, that relationship is going to be super important for their future this season. And not knowing who your center is going into the first game is not good. I know they probably have an idea. I think most people do, but I would love to be solidified. I would love to be confident that we're solid right there at the center position.
Yeah, I got more. Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas is having a disastrous training camp, but he played well in big games last year. Maybe he's a gamer. Mm-hmm. He needs something, and you got to see you got to evaluate him in a different context against a different offense, because it can't, like right now it looks like you almost might want to cut him. So I'd like to see a long evaluation of Ambry Thomas in a game, because if he plays well, who cares about practice? You could look at him differently. Also, Jawan Jennings played well down the stretch last year, like 8 catches in camp on 16 targets. Maybe he's a gamer too. I'd like to evaluate him in specific situations, because I have some questions about him.
What about Ray Ray? Isn't he struggling more than Jennings?
Absolutely. He's got 5 catches on 12 targets. Like, what can he really do well? And how are you going to use him? I think answering that, if the Niners could answer that question on Friday night, that would be great. That would be a big accomplishment for a preseason game.
I'm really hoping a competent wide receiver emerges at the end of this preseason for the 49ers, besides Ray Ray, besides Jennings. Because if somebody goes down, I'm still concerned. Signing Snead was great, but that doesn't make me feel any more confident in the wide receiver position once you get past Brandon Ayuk, and even hopefully Debo gets back to his normal self. So beyond those 2 guys, I'm a little concerned about the position, and I'm hoping that you see some of that develop too.
I want to talk about Ray Ray for a second. I don't really understand. I mean, he'll be a good returner, I guess. That's why they signed him. But they keep saying, no, he's good if he fits our offense too. He's really small, and maybe with a very pinpoint accurate quarterback, that would be cool. Like a younger Ben Roethlisberger. But with Lance, I think with Lance, he really benefits from from receivers who have large catch radiuses, because he's not the most precise quarterback. So hence the relationship with Ayuk, hence the initial lack of cohesion with Debo. So Ray, I mean, he just doesn't get much smaller when it comes to catch radiuses. Now he's a tough guy who makes tough catches, but I think weird fit. Danny Gray, I understand you want a guy who can stretch the field. Ray isn't even a 4-4 guy. So I don't really understand that, unless it's like, hey, we're going to run the ball 45 times a game and he's going to be the end around guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's going to get more carries than catches in this offense. I don't know. I'm a little I guess we can find out Friday night. We can see certain things.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's where he's going to have to end the rounds. Trey Lance so far has shown that he's a little inconsistent with the short passes. So that's not going to work, especially with a smaller guy like Ray. What Trey Lance needs are guys like Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. You need to surround him with as many big handed good catchers as you can. And I think that's going to be super important for his future. Even Debo, that's why I predicted that Ayuk's going to have a better year than Debo. I don't know if Debo, from a receiving yard standpoint, I don't know if that's a good matchup for match with Trey Lance. We'll see. And I'm hoping I'm completely wrong. But yeah, I mean, guys like Ayuk and Kittle, that's going to be the type of receiver that you need to put around Trey Lance.
And it's funny, they're going to want to evaluate Lance to a degree. And if you want to see him at his best, then you might call plays for Kittle and Ayuk, but you don't really need to evaluate Kittle and Ayuk. So I'm curious to see how they balance that. Someone that they need to evaluate is Danny Gray. To me, Danny Gray is very important to this team, because as good as Ayuk is, he's like a 4-5 flat guy, the way I see it. Not a true just run a fade route and run by your corner. I don't see that. I mean, he runs a nasty out route, a nasty dig, but nah. And then Debo, at his best, he can be that guy, but he's not that right now. So I think Danny Gray is definitely fast. He hasn't shown that he can win in a lot of other ways so far in camp, but I think he's important. The element that he brings is an element that Lance could take advantage of. I'd like to see him on the field, seeing the Niners sort of experimenting with what they can do with him. England.
Yeah, he could be huge because if you run a bootleg and have Danny Gray running the nines, a play action bootleg, Danny Gray's going deep. That's a threat that we haven't had. I can't remember last time we had a threat like that. So if he can develop and be that threat where he can take the top off the defense and just get open deep, Trey Lance has the arm to get it there. That can make this offense so much more explosive than anything we've seen since Terrell Owens played with us.
Yeah, and it's like the way this offense is going to be, there's going to be such a focus on stopping the run and Kittle and Ayuk and Debo. Like there could be a few plays a game where Kyle could scheme up Danny Gray to be wide open because given the situation, he knows that's the last person you're thinking about on that play. He kind of did that a little bit, I want to say, in 2016 in Atlanta with Taylor. Who was the number 3 receiver in Atlanta? The little dude who was about 5'7", who was hella fast, that would catch those passes on the outside.
Can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
I mean, it's like now it's going to kill me. Was it Taylor Jacobs?
Well, so who did he try to? So who was the speed guy last year? Remind me of his name on the Niners.
Travis Benjamin.
So here's the problem with how they use Travis Benjamin. It doesn't work if you only throw him in when you're going deep, and that's all he does, right? He has to play more than just a down or two. He has to run other routes because if you just make Danny Gray exclusively this guy, when they put him in, they're going deep. I mean, that's a huge tell, right? So that's the problem I have with how they try to use him last year. And I hope they understand they're going to have to throw in some other stuff as well. Or everyone knows that when Danny Gray's coming in, they're going deep.
Yeah, I was thinking Taylor Gabriel. I don't know if you remember him. 18, he was 25 on that team. He got 50 targets that year, 35 catches, averaged 16.5 yards per reception, 6 touchdowns. He was a key part of that offense.
That's a huge yards per reception.
16 and a half. I mean, because you're so focused on everyone else, but he's super duper fast, so you better not let him run by you.
But Danny Gray's going to have to be competent enough to where he can be inserted in there when he's not going deep, to where he's not just only the deep threat. He has to be some kind of other threat as well.
One more guy, Jordan Mills. Irfin says, any chance Mills takes McGlinchey's spot? I mean, no, but I'd like to. He's looked good in the one-on-one drills. He used to be a starting right tackle. Maybe he wasn't healthy the last couple of years. I want to see what he looks like in a real game. Jordan Mills, another guy.
I heard he's doing really good. Yeah, that's great. That's great depth at the tackle position. We need that. Yeah, the Niners.
Things like McGlinchey that I never understood for a first-round pick offensive tackle. I'm used to guys who are really like fluid and light on their feet, like Staley and Trent Williams. Like these are the best of the best. You drafted them that high. McGlinchey's very robotic. He's very mechanical. He's stiff. Yeah. Jordan Mills is very loose, very athletic. Now he's in his 30s. Maybe it's a mirage. Maybe he can't stay healthy. I have no idea. But right now he looks like this. Callie Tremor says another goal is to see how the O-line will perform, the interior, etc. Yeah, because the O-line does have to function together. Now, again, this is not going to be the starting five. I would guess. I don't think McGlinchey or Trent Williams is going to play, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Definitely not Trent Williams. I would be super surprised if Trent Williams was out there.
Yeah. Jimmy likes that Mamba mentality. RJH.
RG, but I appreciate the quote.
It should be Trey Lance stretching the field with throws. Yeah, I'm curious to see like how the Niners want to evaluate him. What exactly are they trying to evaluate with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things valuable that Trey Lance can get out of this situation. Even just the little things like controlling the huddle, communicating in his headset, just getting used to playing NFL games, and that's going to also get him ready for the season.
Patek says, who was the best Niners player from the 60s? I wasn't alive in the 60s.
I'm old. I'm old, but I'm not that old. I don't know. We're going to have to ask Lowell.
Yeah. Thoughts on O'Neal Jr. and his health? Is he hurt? They released him. Waived released. So sorry. Undrafted free agent. But he'll, the dream will continue somewhere else. Do you believe Trey can take us to the bowl this year?
It's a good question.
Well, we'll talk about that. I wouldn't call it taking what he's going to do this year. I think he's going to be a complementary part of this offense, at least as a passer. He's very young and he's very inexperienced. We're going to talk about that. Who's playing for a job tomorrow? Everyone on the third. I'm curious to see which running back's going to be the odd man out, because the way I see it is it won't be Jeff Wilson Jr. So maybe they'll cut Hasty and keep Sermon and Ty Davis Price. Maybe. Perhaps.
Yeah. I think from everything I'm hearing, Mason is really kind of earned it, and I was never a big Hasty fan. I mean, sorry, Hasty, but I just never saw what Kyle saw in him. Maybe you did. Did you see what Kyle saw in Hasty?
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I think he's explosive for a scat back, but they don't use him that way. They don't hand him the ball, really. They throw it, or they use him as a third down back, which I don't get because he's not particularly good scat back. I think he doesn't really fit the physical profile of the running backs they want to have anymore. They used to have all scat backs, right? McKinnon, Breida, little guys who ran fast. Now it's all about being the toughest, most physical offense in the league. And so you're seeing guys like Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price. And if you're not 215, you're not a running back on this team anymore. It used to be if you didn't run a 4.3, you're not a running back on this team. So maybe Jermichael Hasty just doesn't fit the profile. But if he doesn't sign here, I mean, Atlanta could use him. Like, what do they have in Atlanta? He's more explosive than whatever they got.
Has it been clear to you that Elijah Mitchell, not in the eyes of the coaches, but just it's been clear, like no question, he's by far better than all the other running backs? Do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really like Elijah Mitchell. He looks like the guy last year, but bigger and stronger. I think based on what he did last year, you ideally want to up his workload. Rookie that almost gets to 1,000 yards and averages 4.7 yards per carry. It's like, man, you're a hell of a player. Just need to be a little bit more durable. So he puts on 10 pounds of muscle. I don't think they're going to dial it back with him. And then you still got Debo and now Trey. I don't think there's that many carries to go around. They like Jeff Wilson Jr. as sort of a do-everything backup. I think they want to use Ty Davis Price as their goal line back because he's big and runs hard. But Jordan Mason might be better at that.
I noticed they had what is his name on the depth chart? Second was Wilson. Yeah, they had him second already.
I don't think that much has changed since the end of last season. They had a very clear pecking order at running back that was very successful. I don't see Trey Sermon all of a sudden upsetting that. Like, when did the Niners all of a sudden decide that they like Trey Sermon better than Jeff Wilson? Because that's never been the case. They love Jeff Wilson Jr. And again, what the Niners want now is a downfield, violent, vicious runner. Like, that's not Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon is like bouncing, undecisive. They keep saying he just needs to be decisive. Okay, well, we'll see. That you don't have to convince Jeff Wilson. They talk about like basically saying like, how tough are you? Basically saying that. Because with Jeff Wilson Jr., they're saying he goes to a very dark place. Right? And with Elijah Mitchell, that dude played through broken ribs last year. I guess they're calling out Trey Sermon. What do you got? Because you played at Ohio State. Those holes were huge. You weren't getting touched until you were in the second level. Ty Davis Price is vicious. I can see it. He has no contact hesitation. I can see that right now with Ty Davis. He loves to block. He loves to hit at the end of runs. Doesn't mean he's good, but Trey Sermon has a lot to play for. Trey.
You think the 49ers have Trey Sermon fourth, basically?
Yes. I don't see a role for him. He could now for yesterday, Mitchell and Wilson both had the day off. So Sermon was like the bell cow. He got like 11 carries, but he had 40 yards. He got stopped in the backfield a lot. He gets a lot of getting stopped in the backfield, at least in practice. And maybe you chalk that up to bad O-line play or indecisiveness. Hard to say without looking at. I have to look at the tape.
So that may end up being a bad draft pick. I think we'll know after this year whether that was a poor draft pick or not.
It's a little bit of a strange one in the sense that he's not fast. Yeah, not particularly explosive. Sounds like
you kind of want that out of a running back.
Kind of. He's running. Haha says 49ers giving a masterclass on how not to develop a quarterback. When Trey succeeds, it will be in spite of the org, and I will praise him for it. I totally see where you're coming from, man. We're going to talk about what Kyle's been saying recently about quarterbacks on other teams, but yeah, I don't know. They kept saying like they were trying to emulate what Andy Reid did in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid made Patrick Mahomes feel like such a special player early on and never wavered. Harbaugh did that for Kaepernick. Kyle can't do that for people. Maybe he's not built that way, but he's much more the keep it real guy than the like prop you up, build you up kind of guy.
One of the things I'm going to be watching this year is when I'm watching Trey Lance, does it seem like he benefited from sitting a year behind Jimmy, or does it seem like a guy who should have been playing because he's behind the 8 ball of where we need him to be right now?
Maybe that's a good way to evaluate. We talk about what to accomplish, what to evaluate in these games. How does Lance does he look like a guy who's been on the team for a year, or does he look like a rookie? How does the offense function? Does he get the offense in and out of the huddle? All that kind of stuff. Because I'm really skeptical of how much you really learn on the bench in 2021, 2022. I mean, these practices are short. It's not really a developmental time during the season. But open-minded, they work with Patrick Mahomes. Oris Rocha says, who's going to be the 6th wide receiver? Will they even keep 6 wide receivers? This is a team that's going to run a lot. Maybe they keep 4 tight ends or 9 offensive linemen or 5 running backs. I don't know.
Would you think Snead has any chance of making this 53?
He made I want to say he made a touchdown catch. He's made like 1 catch. Maybe he has a chance. I mean, he has a track record. How about that's another guy? You really haven't gotten him involved in camp very much. He just got here. Here's a great opportunity to give Willie Snead an extended look in the 3rd quarter and see if he has any juice left. Great call, Willie Snead. Because you've seen Ray all off season. You probably have a lot of practice tape on Ray. You got nothing on Willie Snead. You got to make a decision on him in like a month or something, right? So Willie Snead, great call.
Yeah, because people can scoff at the Willie Snead thing, but that guy actually, he almost had 1,000 yards 2 seasons in a row. He was a legit wide receiver at one point, and he got bounced around. So maybe he's done, but there's a possibility he's got it still in the tank. So I'm looking forward to
Robert is another guy the Niners should take a long look at. Only been on the team a few weeks. Seen him in practice. He's a D lineman. What's he look like in a real game?
And they had him really low on the depth chart.
I got a funny Robert Kimdiche story from yesterday. I meant to put this in my good, not so good, but I forgot. Okay. So he's really emotional on the field. A lot of players are. And he starts pushing with someone. Jason Poe. They get in a little shoving match, and Kimdiche's fired up. So his coaches start yelling at him, and it seems like they thought he was in the wrong. They were mad at him. So guess who goes and calms him down? Arm around him, talking to him, calms him down. Guess who it is?
Is it a coach or a player?
Player.
Don't tell me it's Fred. Is it Fred?
No, it's in his position group.
I don't know. Who was it?
Javon Kinlaw.
Oh,
the voice of reason.
I should have guessed that. Yeah.
The voice of reason. He's like, hey, man.
Good.
So, it's clearly they're very I think they hit it off. But good. Javon was like, hey, I don't know what he said, but that was the guy who was his big brother in that moment.
That would have been the most ironic guess. I'm mad that I missed that one, but that's good to hear that Javon's doing that.
It seems like they like Kimdiche, and they just might be the right support group to bring out the best. Because clearly he has. I don't know Kimdiche well, but he's gotten a million chances. He was the number 1 recruit out of high school. He's very gifted. Hasn't worked out. There must be some disconnect. Maybe this D-line group with these players can be the ones that get it out, that bring out the best in him. So Kimdiche.
Yeah, that's a good watch. See how he does.
To answer this question, though, I think if they keep a 6th guy, right now, the leader would be Malik Turner. I mean, he caught like a 40-yard touchdown pass yesterday from Nate Sudfeld. And I can't say that about anyone else.
What's that guy's name? Tay McCown? Is that his name?
Tay Martin.
Guy? Tay Martin. How is he looking?
He's starting to make he does well in the one-on-ones. He's made a couple of – he's a possession receiver. Seems like the kind of guy that – I think he's good. I think he's the kind of guy that maybe could be the 6th wide receiver, or you could put him on the practice squad. I mean, I think usually it's like, can you get away with putting him on the practice squad? Will someone claim him? Yeah, I think you could get away with it, and you could always elevate him on game day, but he seems like the kind of guy who could eventually be on this team, eventually.
Good. Yeah, because I think those are the type of receivers that they need to put around Trey Lance.
Yeah. He's not super big. I don't see him as being 6'4". He looks like he's 6'1", but he does seem like a decent-sized possession receiver who gets open.
Okay.
JR says if the Niners get a draft pick for PSJ, will Grant admit he was wrong for asking why Jimmy was still in the Niners for the last month? Well, I admit I was wrong about something. I don't know.
Depends on the draft pick.
Depends on the draft pick. I mean, was this charade really worth it? I guess we'll have to see. We'll see. I don't know. Why do I have to admit I'm wrong before I'm wrong? I'm not wrong yet.
Right.
I have to pre-admit it. Mark says 1960s Niners greatest players: John Brody, J.D. Smith, Dave Parks, Leo Namalini, Ken Willard, Jimmy Johnson, Dave Wilcox, John Thomas, Bob St. Clair. Thank you, Mark.
I've heard about Bob St. Clair and John Brody the most out of that group.
Leo Namalini, I've heard his name a million times. Jimmy Johnson, heard his name a million times too. The other ones are new to me. Thank you, Mark. What else we got? Nick Craig says, do you think Trey is our franchise quarterback or just a temp? That is the $1 million question. And I don't know. And I think that's the real answer. The real question is, how do the Niners feel? And I think the answer is they don't know. They don't know.
I think he has all the
4 years.
I think he has all the intangibles to be a franchise quarterback. The question is, in the game, is he the guy? And we'll find
out. Grant, can you admit you're wrong that the Niners will win a Super Bowl with the first-year starting quarterback?
If he wins the Super Bowl.